Okay, Alison Morris and Ben Lowry, thank you both very much for your time. 030 30 80 55 55. From that to something completely different, Kay Hutchinson seemed to have a life many people would dream of: a great career in TV, a loving marriage, no financial worries, and yet a midlife crisis left her facing rock bottom. In the process of trying to get her life back on track, she tried 37 different alternative therapies, and she has now written a book about her experience. Kay began by telling me how it all began.
It was kind of shocking because I was quite a successful, very driven career person for so many years of my life. And I'd had a lot of material things, and I had plenty of money, no worries. I had a lovely husband and a wonderful house. And you really could look at me and you could say, well, I mean, what is there missing? There's nothing missing for this. It's just perfect, and you're really happy.
So you had what appeared to be a perfect life, a great job, you had a loving husband, no cash worries, and then one day everything changed.
Yeah, I'd been through a difficult time. My mother had a very horrible cancer that lasted 4 years before she died, and I had just not really recovered from that. In fact, I hadn't really dealt with it at all when I discovered a lump on my husband's neck, and that turned out to be cancer as well. So I had to then immediately have the radio and chemotherapy all over again, and I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my husband as well. Anyway, the good news is that it was treatable and we got it early and he recovered. But as my husband started to get back into the routine of what we'd done before, and, you know, going to the Grand Prix in the south of France and going to the lovely hotels, and this time I was down there, I just didn't appreciate any of it. It was all felt really, really empty. And I think it was because the experience of cancer in your close family really changes you and makes you sit up and take notice of what's important in life. I just ran away, actually. I just jumped. I basically left him in the hotel. I said, I'm really sorry, but I've just got to get away and get home. I left him there. He was still on holiday. Got the first flight home and basically tried to sit down and think what was wrong. I mean, at that time, I didn't realise it was the effect of the cancer and the kind of just, you know, while he had cancer, I was still working harder and harder. And I think it just took everything out of me, and I was running on empty. When you go through something like that, and I'm sure many, many people understand this, it completely turns you upside down. You are not the same people. You are worried constantly. You are on edge. You can't just pick up the same old routines and feel the same way, because life is really coming to the fore.
Let's get on to the 37 different therapies. You know, a lot of us have thought about these types of things before. Some people partake. Some people think it, as we said earlier, that it's all nonsense. But how did you start that journey to go through all these different options?
Well, I was one of those people too, because I mean, when I look at the list, I think, oh my goodness, there's no way that I would have done those in the before my midlife crisis. Absolutely no way. Scottish Presbyterian upbringing. You get your head down, you go on with life, and you don't fiddle about. But actually, I needed help. And yes, the GP had sent me for tests, and I was, you know, looking at all kinds of ways of tackling this. But in the meantime, while I waited for some help to come, I decided I needed to do something for myself. So I asked a couple of friends, and I thought, actually, maybe I should try something complementary. I went to yoga. That was the one thing that I did. And a couple of my friends there said, well, why don't you try some acupuncture? Why don't you try some meditation? And so I started these therapies. And I mean, it was a bit hit or miss. I went to acupuncture, and then that one led to something else. I went on a root yoga retreat with friends. One of the yoga people on there was an astrologer. She did me an astrology reading, a birth chart.
Are any of these making you feel better? I know that's kind of the beginning, but are you starting to think there's something in this? This is starting to work. There's an effect.
Every single one, looking back, helped me.
Really? There's a list here.
move through.
Acupuncture, affirmations, card readings, colonic irrigation, F-it therapy, and I've left words out, letters
Very
out there.
good.
Guided meditations, massage, well, I mean, so silent retreat, voodoo.
Yeah, I think even the ones like voodoo, which are really extreme, actually what I learned from that was that I was finally coming back into the real world, and I'd been through this very strange time in my life, and it made me realise that I didn't need therapies anymore.
You went from desert dunes to mountaintops. You travelled quite far and wide. It sounds like some kind of adventure journey. What was the most extreme, if you were to pick one of your therapies?
The one that really worked for me, I mean, the shamanic trip to Egypt inside the pyramids was amazing, but I am going to talk about the silent retreat, because I think the silent retreat was the one where I actually felt as if I was beginning to sort out my mental sort of confusion. And the silent retreat, it was over Christmas one year. It was 11 hours of meditation a day. We had our Christmas meal, our last meal of the day, which was in the middle of the trip. I sat there with my apple and my orange. It was all vegetarian food and very frugal, and some herbal tea. And I just thought, this is just so ridiculous, because my whole family was having a wonderful feast back at home. But I was happy by the end of that trip, because we were doing so much learning how to meditate and calm our minds and focus on the internal workings of our system, our heartbeat, our breathing. I really, really felt that I'd cleared out all the clutter and the rubbish that I was thinking about.
Just briefly, Kay, before we finish up, if someone listens and thinks, do you know what, I'm finding myself at an unexpected crossroads in my life, and they want to try a therapy, what would you recommend if you had to pick one?
Oh, actually, I think it would be yoga. It's not really a therapy, but yoga is the most amazing all-round sort of experience, because not only are you doing physical movements that are good for you physically to get everything moving, and it really looks at every area of the body and stretches gently, but it also is very, very good for focusing the mind and calming the mind. And if you find a teacher who's really good and gives you a little bit about the philosophy of yoga and why it started up and why it's been such a successful thing, I think I would definitely encourage people. And I see lots and lots of men. You didn't used to be any men in yoga these days, but these days there are.
My Life in 37 Therapies by Kay Hutchinson is out now. Kay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.